Hey, everybody. Good evening. It's Ethan Evans, the Easy Coach. Happy to see you all tonight. Thank you for being here. Tonight's going to be a little bit of an unusual show. Normally, we have, um, tonight we were supposed to have Mugendra. We were going to follow up with him on his coaching from last month. However, I got email from him. He's in India. Yep, IO Fault late stream. Good to see everybody coming in. Thank you for being here. Um, so I got an email from him that his son is sick, and he was up all night with his son. He emailed me about 4 a.m. his time because when he gets on for us at 8 p.m. Pacific, it's I think 8:30 a.m. over in Bangalore, or I guess he's now in Pune. In any case, in Pune, India. So he couldn't make it. Hey, Chalupa, good to see you. Always glad to have you here, and thanks for your participation also in our Discord. But bottom line is, Mugendra had to reschedule, so suddenly we don't have a guest. But that's okay. I had a really interesting day today. I got to speak at T-Mobile headquarters and talk to their product and technology team. And I'm sure there'll be a few people from T-Mo here. I also, my wife is out of town, and so I see my dog sneaking through because he's lonely. So he just took off out through the curtain. Hey, Ethernight. So tonight we're going to do an Ask Me Anything, actually. We're going to throw things wide open. I'll talk about a few things I did, show some fun pictures from the weekend. I had an adventure that went sideways, and that's always good. It was a happy adventure. And then we'll do an Ask Me Anything. So in the question widget, which many of you who are with us a lot know well, in our extension, either on mobile or on web, you can open up our extension and ask questions. Now, we had 3 leftover questions from last week that each had 1 vote. So I thought since we're doing an Ask Me Anything, I'd leave those in there to kick things off. And if you want me to talk about something else, go ahead and ask a different question and get other people to vote for it. Because I talk about what you guys want to hear about. So, I called this stream Ask Me Anything Almost. And the almost is, as everyone knows the rules of the stream, I don't talk about Twitch or Amazon business issues here. When I'm here, I speak only for myself and I share what I know to try and help you out, like I did with the folks at T-Mobile. But what I don't do is answer Twitch or Amazon business questions. So if you have those, go through proper channels, which isn't me. And otherwise, though, wide open on anything career development people want to talk about. And I've already heard from a couple of our folks in Discord that they're looking forward to a more wide open stream. So with that said, let's have some fun. I went to T-Mobile today at the invitation of one of my friends. A gentleman named Parag Garg used to work with me at Amazon. He, more than any one other person, originated the Fire TV. And I've actually talked about him here on stream before because Parag is a lone inventor. He was just an individual contributor. I know a lot of people on the stream think that you need to be a manager or an executive to get things done. And now Parag's a vice president at T-Mobile. But in 2011, he was a senior TPM. So an individual contributor, and he figured out and pitched the Fire TV Amazon set-top box up to management. And now if you go, tens of millions have been sold, I believe. And if you go up to Amazon and look for the Fire TV device, you'll find tons of them. So I went in and spoke to about 400 people at T-Mobile. And among the topics we could talk about today, if you want, is I was talking to them about innovation and how to go from 0 to 1. So how to go from no product at all to something in the market. But fun stuff. While chat fills up, we'll do the question of the day early. I'm going to pop up pictures from my weekend. So this is going to be for loyal fans. If you were here last week, my mystery item was my relatively dorky trail hat. And I explained how my wife had begged slash encouraged me to replace it with something cleaner and less gross. But the dirty old trail hat doesn't fit, or the new hat doesn't fit well under a climbing helmet. So I was going to go climb a peak called Black Peak in the North Cascades this weekend. And just for the point, for all of you, I brought the hat back. Uh-oh, why is that not showing up? Let's see. Sweet. There we go. So I had my friend I was climbing with take a picture of me with the hat back to life out in the wild. And over my shoulder there is Black Peak. So we're hiking in to Black Peak. And it's about 6 miles in from the trailhead in the North Cascades National Park. It actually sits on the boundary of the national park. And it's about 9,000 feet high, like 8,900 some. So up here in the corner is Black Peak, where we're headed. And the campground, well, the lake we camped at is kind of hidden down behind the trees. So great. Now we have to talk about what actually happened. So I have to close this image and open the other one, which is, oh, come on, wrong click. This is me the next morning when we got up to climb. Despite it being August and there being absolutely no bad weather at all in the forecast, that's me pointing to the same peak at about 8 a.m. the next morning. And so things had gone seriously south. When my alarm went off at 5:30, I could hear rain on the tent, though no rain was expected. And then it just got worse. You can see, though it's August and like 80 degrees in Seattle, I'm wearing every stitch of clothing I own, a wool hat, gloves, etc. And totally aborted. So we hiked out. But the fun part is the hat living again. My other hat here, not as interesting. Hey, Drino, good to see you back. So tonight, for everybody who's joined in, we're going to do an Ask Me Anything. Hopefully, while I'm showing pictures and doing show and tell, you guys are filling up. You're filling up the questions with what you'd like to talk about tonight. So that reminds me, by the way, I'll talk about this at the end, but I just agreed with Devin Nash, for the Nash Nation fans who are often here, that he and I are going to stream. Actually, we're going to do a holiday stream on Labor Day, and that'll give us a chance to hang out. And he'll probably end up talking some about PAX and PAX news, but we don't have a set topic to that. So we'll do something there too. All right, enough of this. I'll get it off from over my face. Someday I'll decide to like move it around, but I'm usually in the middle and I don't display that much. So you get my voice over the headless horseman, as it were. All right, closing windows here. Oh, nobody has added a new question, so I'll end up answering the old questions if newer stuff doesn't show up. So go ahead and put in some questions. Otherwise, it will be a short chat tonight. I see you, Kyle. I gotcha. We'll talk about that later. But it's on the topic list. Okay. The other thing we'll do that's always fun to buy time for you guys to decide what you want to talk about tonight is the question of the day. So the question of the day, oh yeah, where can I put questions? So Shadow will pop up the question info. There you go, it's right there. So for those of you asking how to put in questions, there's your instructions. You can do it through the web. You can do it off mobile through an extension. You can do it by going to the link there, but you can also do it through the extension that's over the screen if you're watching in a browser. Basically, you go to the right-hand edge. You should see a little icon that's kind of a blue circle pop up. You click on that. You do have to share your Twitch ID, which means you have to have a Twitch ID, but if you're in chat, you already have that. So we rely on your questions. We're looking forward to them. Meanwhile, question of the day. Many of you know our question of the day. It's the relationship building question from Arthur Aaron. My question widget isn't working. That seems weird, but is possible. Let me see what happens. test question. All right. Well, if we have to, we'll get Awesome Dave real quick. It's definitely working okay for me. I just put in a test question. So, not sure what's going on, but it should be working. If other people have trouble, let me know. We'll get this one out of here. Seems to be working. Otherwise, we did have to do some re-engineering of this recently. Might just be on my end. You'll have to mod the questions myself tonight. All right, I can do that. But other people, if you're having trouble getting, it's not letting me log in with Twitch, only Google and Amazon. Yeah, that might be on a link thing. So, but questions are coming in and I can mod them. How much overtime do you work generally? We'll answer that one later. That's a good one. Yeah, that is so strange. Yep. So if you have trouble, go to the web link. But I'll buy you, go to the actual web page link because clearly I can put questions in. I'm using Chrome to do it, and other people can do it somehow. So we'll look for votes, but clearly someone submitted a question, so it is working at some level, and we'll figure it out. Oh, hey, Lenny is now following. Welcome, Lenny. Let me see if I can vote. Yep, I can vote also. So, worked in the Twitch app. Give me the pizza. I just had to refresh. Okay, thank you for that. JD Dell, welcome. Okay, so I'm ending up distracted from the question of the day. So the question of the day, this time is a really good one. I really like. Every week we do the question of the day, or the question of the week, and we all share the answers. So everybody in chat, get ready. The question is, do you have a secret hunch about how you will die? And I certainly do, which I'll share in a second, but I want to see in chat, first, do you have a secret hunch about how you will die? And I know a lot of you are young, so it's kind of morbid, but that's okay. I've had a lot more time to think about it. But if you do, share it, and if you don't, say you don't. And then all of our morbid thoughts will help you get there. But seriously, it's fun. So mine's a little boring because it's standard. I've had some members of my family die of cancer, and that just seems like scary and painful. So Chalupa Whale says, yeah, in a blade of glory. I assume he means a blaze of glory, although in a blade of glory could also happen if he's like going to take up some samurai shit or go ninja on us. So for me, I'm okay with the blaze of glory. That's why I do things like climb mountains. I'm not okay with long and painful and slow. That seems like no fun at all. So all right, let's see what we have coming in here in chat. Chalupa Whale's a blaze of glory. T Weirdo, congratulations to you. Yes, and in my sleep, nothing spectacular. God, I hope so for you. That would be great as long as you're old and healthy when it happens. Like 95 and then not wake up or wake up in heaven. Yes, please. 60 or 40 and like with all kinds of tubes and wires running in and out of you. Yuck. That's the one I want to avoid somehow. So I already avoided doing that at 40. Check. Okay, give me the pizza. I'm assuming if not old age, then probably some disease. Cancer and Alzheimer runs in the family. I'm sorry for that. Give me the pizza. I hope you make it a long time before that happens. Paintbrush Hero 4. I always worry if I die, then anybody that I'm doing work for would know and think I flaked on them. Yeah, I guess, with internet anonymity, that could happen. So hopefully, though, the people close to you would know. Other than that, the type of death, I think car crash. So do you like drive freaky wild? Sky Pager, probably a heart attack. Okay, so these are pretty standard. There's nothing really wild out there. It comes out though, do you have a hunch? Like, do you have this secret suspicion? And I sure hope mine's wrong. You think people are crazy drivers. So, yeah, it must be from Cali. Well, it could happen. There are definitely some loony drivers. All right, so we've done the question of the day. We've done funny hat photos. And you guys have put some questions in. So I'll go ahead and jump on them. Or my ex will get me. Oh, T Weirdo, that's heavy. But I have certainly heard that before from other people. Um, and hopefully that doesn't happen, but, take them with you. Matchstick Man, welcome in. Um, Hydrate, anything that impacts not being active enough. Yeah, I'm active as well, despite the chair. That was the earlier pictures of the mountain climbing, because I'm totally with you. All right, we're going to jump on the first question. So I know a bunch of people have joined while we've been talking. We're doing an Ask Me Anything Q&A tonight. I'm going to pop up the first question right now. And that question is, older job seeker went back to school and got a master's in technology management. I have proven skills, but trouble tying all this to get a job in tech. Advice. Age is unfortunately really tough. I have some friends who are older, and older, by the way, now. I know a lot of the audience is younger. What gets defined as older seems to be getting younger. So, like, people over 40 are protected class, but depending on what you're doing, you can be considered older pretty soon. Unless you're, I'm lucky, like, executives are derogatorily called gray hairs, but there's a reason, because having gray hair can get you hired. Um, all right. Anyway, older job seeker. There's a few things here I've talked about, at least to get a resume. I'm sorry, to get an interview from your resume. Consider dropping some of your early experience off your resume if you were doing entry level jobs, say 20 years ago, or jobs that aren't in your field, and your resume will still look robust with recent experience. Drop some of it to obscure exactly your age. Second, and my answer to everything, yes, it's us boomers. I have a little ways to go to boomerdom. I guess I'll never catch up to them. But so you can drop some stuff off your resume. That's a good trick. The other thing is network. Get people to look past. I know every time anybody asks about jobs, I say build your network, get on LinkedIn, do it before you need it. The reason to build your network early is a network can get you around the age discrimination. Basically, if people are looking only at your resume and they figure out your age, they may even subconsciously move on from you. But if they have a recommendation from somebody that you're good to talk to you, that will usually overcome it. Because when they're just looking at your resume, they don't have much of an impression of anything about you. And so they're much more willing to, like, take you up on what you'd like to know, or what you could do. They're much more willing to take you up on it. This mic's bothering me where it is, so I'm going to fuss with it. So the point is, you get that really good reference in place, and that gets you around a lot of these problems. So though it's my advice to everyone, it's build a network and then use that to get a referral. The next thing I would say, and this advice pains me because I work at Amazon, which is a really big company, and it needs to hire a lot of good a lot of good people. And I don't know why I said questions. I guess I have questions on the brain. Needs to hire a lot of good people, but big companies appear to be more rigid. They have more levels of people between the hiring manager and the candidate. Small companies, you're not likely to get screened out by someone in the middle. You're not likely to get screened out by a gatekeeper. And so if you go to a smaller company, you probably can talk directly to a hiring manager. And the more levels of gatekeeper, the more chances for your resume to get sidelined. And I just think smaller companies are more flexible. I think a problem of big companies is you have a relatively junior person doing sourcing, and they're trying to figure out which resume. They don't care if you're good or not, honestly. What they care about, and I'm generalizing, if there's some sourcers here, I'm sorry. They care about, I have a quota to meet of getting people hired. which resumes can I pick that are most likely? And so if it's unlikely, they just move on. And they're looking for, it's not personal, they're just looking for any reason to throw things out and filter things down. So you try and get away from that. So that'll be a couple of my pieces of advice. The other thing I would say is do have a good resume in terms of make it clean, make it well formatted, no stupid errors, general resume advice. And then try and demonstrate those new technology skills in any context, including a volunteer context, a GitHub context. If I were older and trying to move into technology management or trying to change fields, I would try very much to make the technologies I listed be super modern. So if you're like, oh, hey, I went back to school, but my list of technologies I know is like COBOL and Fortran, there's no way. It would have to be, I'm an expert in Go or something that would strike people as very immediate, that you were still up on things. So you don't have to be young. You do have to seem plausibly young. So, all right, cool. I think I beat that one to death. We've had a bunch more people join. We're doing an Ask Me Anything tonight. So wide open on the field of career development, personal coaching, being a stronger professional. We just talked about older job seekers. We're going to move on. But the Q&A site is open. You can grab that in the extension and vote on questions. We have a bunch of questions that are tied. So I'm going to take them in order. But if you want me to answer anything else, get in there and vote. Let's see. I have to approve some things. Let's see. Okay, sweet. All right. Normally, let's see. Where'd the question go? All right, we're going to do this one because it's a fun one of the tied ones. So the question is, how much overtime do you work generally? Is there a point where you stop, or do you work until something is done, or is it a balance? My general work week is between 60 and 70 hours, and that's a ton. And part of it is I'm probably just a workaholic a little bit. I'm a perfectionist. And part of it is Amazon is super demanding and has high expectations. And part of it is how I define work. So some of the stuff I do for EZ Coach, I do a lot of that internally to Amazon, and so that's a type of work, but it's also fun for me. So maybe if you take my 60 to 70 hours and you cut 10 hours out for like teaching and mentoring, I'm more like 50 to 60 hours. Those 50 to 60, easily 40 in my case, are sucked up in meetings. So that's interesting. Someone got the name anonymous and they're now able to follow. Good for you. So can I add to that and ask how many hours a week would you say becomes unhealthy? Sure, we can talk about all of those. Pineapple Shade, thank you for the sub. And thank you for continuing your subscription. I appreciate that very much. Everything, subscriptions, as it says, proceeds go to our designated charity, Washington Trails Association. We'll have the executive director of the WTA on the show in a couple months. Meanwhile, I work a fair amount, but there are points when I stop. I stop before I hurt my family. I stop when I'm too tired to think straight and I'm more likely to make mistakes. I stop when I'm getting angry or frustrated and I'm about to say something or do something that I shouldn't, which happens. But the biggest thing is you've got to get enough sleep. So we have Tell Kyle to Hydrate changed his name to Hydrate Right Now, Please, I think. We could find somebody else to change their screen name to Get Enough Sleep. I need 7 to 8 hours a night to be smart. To be functional. So I developed a rule all the way back in college, which is never study for a test I could sleep for instead. So I go ahead and sleep. Instead of doing more work. Anyway, is there, let's see. Is there a point where you stop, or do you work until something is done? I like to work in small slices or iterate. So I probably, I guess, I don't know, I'm not a doctor, but if I were young, I think I'd have been diagnosed like ADHD. I tend to have a dozen browser tabs open and be switching between emails and different windows and working a little bit on each thing. It's not a good work pattern. According to most psychology, it's better to focus. I suck at focus. It's probably why I like the Ask Me Anything format. I mean, basically everything I do is a type of Ask Me Anything show. And so I like to multitask, but that means I iterate through projects. And if I have to just close everything out and bang through a single project that takes more than an hour or two, it's very, very draining for me. So, Adreno, I see you say you're the same. How many hours a week would you say becomes unhealthy? It depends on for how many weeks. I've sustained 50 hours for 25 years and bursts up to 60 plus for periods of years, a year at a time, 2 years at a time, and then I need a break. Above 60 some, closing in on 70, where I sometimes am now, I can't do that for a long time. And I wear out. And so I guess what's healthy depends on who you are. A lot of people I know work 40 or 35, particularly if you count actually working as opposed to screwing off while sitting at their desk. I don't recommend super long hours, actually. The old, like, work smarter, not harder. I could do my whole job in 20 hours a week if I could figure out how to get rid of all the damn meetings. And I would prefer that. When I worked in startups, I did not need to actually work as hard because there were far fewer meetings. I did a show with Devin Nash. You can go check it out. I think there's a video of it on his YouTube channel. By the way, I think everybody here who's a longtime viewer follows us on our YouTube channel, but please do join our Discord. And feel free, if you ever miss a show, to listen to it as a podcast. We publish on every podcast channel. I can't imagine working more than 40 hours a week and having a family. Hence why we've agreed on not having kids right now. Yeah, Pete, it's a really good question. I'm somewhat lucky there in that my wife does not work right now, so she's able to take care of everything in the house. The result being, when I come home, I have almost pure social time. I don't have a lawn to mow. I don't have dishes to do. And that's a trade-off. If you're not in that situation, working like I do would be crippling to a family. And I'd be lying if I didn't say I hurt my daughter when she was younger by being away too much. Like, that's on my regret list. I think this saying is true. Very few people die and say, boy, or on their deathbed, say, I wish I'd spent more time at work. That just isn't a common complaint. Maybe it's a few people. All right, we still have a bunch of tied questions. And look, there's 35 viewers, and the questions in our question tool have 2 votes apiece. So 33 of you are dragging ass. Please go ahead and give us some feedback on what you'd like to talk about tonight, because I'm happy to talk about anything, but I'd like to do it for more than 2 people at a time. So I'll stop nagging you on it, but remember, any person out there who puts in a single vote, your question's going to get answered next because everything's tied and only has 1 or 2 votes. So think of yourself as being totally in control. Isn't that a powerful thought? Aren't you proud of yourself? Don't you feel like you should use that power for good? Anyway, here we go. So next question. This is a fun one from I've talked about before. Let's see. The widget is being annoying. Come on. Okay. Could you explain more about laying in the mall to build more confidence? How beneficial can that be? Are there any other ways? So this is a reference to a trick I learned about from a fun book called The 4-Hour Work Week. And a lot of people have read The 4-Hour Work Week, but if you haven't, it's about completely other stuff. But at one point, he talks about the possibility of, if you're not confident, being misunderstood, or if you want to build the ability to deal with discomfort, go to the mall or any public place and lay down. And lay down in the middle of the hallway or the aisleway for a minute, and people will definitely stare at you, and they may ask, like, "Are you okay?" or "Can I help you?" or tell you to get up. And you don't need to stay there forever, but you just look at them and say, "Oh, I just need to rest for a minute," or "I'm just checking out the ceiling from down here." Say whatever the hell you want. Um, say anything that makes you more comfortable. But the point is to deal with your discomfort and get better at it. Now, I appreciate the follows coming in. Thank you, everybody. I'll switch over to my book list and talk about the book for this in a second, because it's a book we've used a lot. And where'd it go? Oh, did I actually put this on here yet? Let me see. Now we need to do an edit. So let me pull it up in Amazon instead. Let's see. So I think there's now, the question was, is there a much better way to do this than lay down in the mall? And potentially there is. At least there's another way to do it. And that's the book Rejection Proof, which, let's see, I got to blow this up big enough to be seen. Blah, 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 blah. There we go. That'll do. And then we'll turn it on. So this is the book, Rejection Proof, How I Beat Fear and Became Invincible Through 100 Days of Rejection. It's a great story. It's a short book. You can listen to it as an audio book. You can see it's super highly rated. This guy was crazy. And he realized rejection really upset him. By the way, if you want the rest of our book list ever, it's over here on the Easy Coach website under books. And you can look at all our recommended books. I need to add this to it. So Rejection Proof, I'll take it down. But this book is incredibly powerful in terms of just different ways to mess with rejection and to get better at not being bothered by it. So to answer the question, literally read that book and try almost anything in it. Or if you don't want to read the book, I just saw Dorino's chat message. He says, "That's me every time I'm at the bar." So he lays down apparently on the bar floor. I wonder how that happens. All right, we have a question with 3 votes. Chat hears and obeys. That is fantastic. Welcome in, everybody. I see more people have joined. We're doing an Ask Me Anything. So we're going to go to the next question. But I think it is very beneficial to be able to sit with your own discomfort and to ask for things you don't think you deserve or are going to get. I'll put it in financial terms. There's research that shows 60 to 70% of people who ask for a raise get something. Only about a third get nothing. Yet only about a third of people have ever asked for a raise. We just don't go do it. We don't go make the case. Now, I've done a whole other show about maximizing comp and how to negotiate comp and some of the pieces there. So I'm not going to redo that. But the point is, getting good at asking for things. People like to say yes. They don't like to say no. They fear rejection and harsh response just as much as you do. So if you ask politely, you can often get things you didn't think you could. And it basically makes life better for free. And so Gimme the Pizza, I guess, has asked for a raise. And that's great. Congratulations. We'll move on. All right. So the next question, the one that has people's attention is, I recently got a new job. The only issue, let's see, I got to make sure I'm doing questions tonight. So I need to approve things. Sorry about the disconnect here, folks. One of our moderators is out. She's out in the wilds hiking, which is great. I recently got a new job. Sweet. All right, we have a lot of questions been put in. Biggest pet peeve is one. You can vote for that if you want. All right, because that's fun. We're doing True Ask Me Anything. So even though that's not about career necessarily, I will answer that tonight. This is your chance to get me to answer things I wouldn't normally, because there's no off topic except nothing about Amazon or Twitch business. So I recently got a new job. The only issue is that it's 12 hours of not working. I haven't met with my direct boss in a month. Should I try to outdo the other guys doing nothing, enjoy the free ride, offer to wash the car and polish shoes? Any advice is welcome. Also, please unban somebody. So the mods made that decision. I'm going to rely on them. So that part we won't go into. But I recently got a new job. It's 12 hours of not working. I've been in that situation. I've been in a place where basically it was a startup that was struggling and they were keeping me on the bench and I had nothing to do. And I actually started a business in my spare time. So what I would certainly say is if you have 12 hours on your hands, do something. The best thing to do is find a way to give value to the company. Like, I don't know the rest of your situation, but I would try to earn my paycheck. If I couldn't earn my paycheck, I would try to use that time to improve myself. And if I couldn't earn my paycheck or improve myself, I would go try and find a different job. Because even if you get this free ride for a long time and no one cares, like, you're not going anywhere. Unless you want to be sitting at that same place doing nothing 5 years from now, you have to advance yourself somehow. Now, I'll be honest. When I was in this situation and I didn't have to do anything for a while, I didn't. Like, for the first month, it was awesome. I read a lot. I see somebody says Netflix. Yes, Netflix and chill. I read a lot on the internet. And as you know, Reddit will keep you entertained forever. The Rex 243, welcome in. I have a resume review on the schedule, actually. If you go look at the schedule on my website, it's out there a little ways. If that's not soon enough for you or you need something, Rex, let me know. We can always pull it in, or I can do a one-off as a special. So anyway, I admit, for the first month, I kicked back and screwed off. And that was like a great in-place vacation. And I won't say, I've never taken advantage of the chance to rest up and get a break at work. If you have that chance and you've actually been working hard, do that. But otherwise, earn your pay. Advance yourself, reach out to the boss and ask for work. Now, my sister's actually in this situation where she doesn't have enough stimulating work, and it's tough. Like, it drags on you if you want to put in an honest day's work for an honest day's wage. And so get out. It's my advice to her. It is hard. It's hard to find a different job, but do the work. As you say, you have time, and there's a whole Easy Coach thing, whole Easy Coach show on YouTube right now about how to find a better job using What Color Is Your Parachute, one of our favorite books. All right. I will take in 12 hours to prepare. Yeah, exactly. I agree with Pete. So take the time to do something else. Let's see. I'm in a similar situation. I'm in an internship. I don't get paid. Yeah, so make up your own work or do something else. This is a tough question because we don't have this much at Amazon, and I can't, the last time I had this was 20 years ago, and that company didn't do very well. But look, a company that can't find work for you is probably a company that's not going anywhere fast. And if a boss can't find work for you, they're not very invested in you. And so all of those are signs that scream, get out, get the hell out. So run. And the other thing you can do is, as Pete says, do something you see that needs to be done. What's the worst that can happen? You get fired from the non-job? I guess that can happen, but I guess I'd say it's probably for the better. Hey, Devin, how's it going? we were talking about you earlier. We were talking about the fact that you and I are going to do a show on Labor Day. We're not going to have any topic, but Devin will be coming off 3 days at PAX West, and so it'll be his wind down time. So he did an announcement thingy. So is the announcement thingy for the show tomorrow, where we're doing for everybody who's not heard. We'll talk about it later. We'll have Lou Castle here tomorrow. I'll take a moment since I'm between questions and I've answered this one and pop it up. I'll be streaming from Awesome Dave's studio. We'll have a guest, and that guest will be Lou Castle. Lou is founder of Westwood Studios and maker of 150 different video games, best known for the Command and Conquer series. He's going to be my guest tomorrow at 6 p.m. Pacific. We're going to talk about not only Command and Conquer, but careers in video games, what they're like. You guys are asking me about working overtime. You can ask Lou. He's an amazing guy, now part of Amazon Game Studios. He won't be able to talk a lot about Amazon Game Studios. Oh, Devin. Yeah, tomorrow. Thank you for that. But tomorrow's the big show with Lou. And give me the pizza. All of you people who like CNC Generals, you can talk to Lou about it. And he'll be all about it. He's actually a really great guest, by the way. He's a good public speaker. He's very comfortable being asked anything. Yeah. And what time? 6 p.m. Pacific. 6 p.m. Pacific. Tomorrow night, Tuesday. Lou will be there. And thanks, Devin. And you and I still have to pick a time for Labor Day. So I'll kind of work that around you. Within reason, you let me know. Okay, back to questions. Let's see. So we've done this one. So people want to know, did you used to be involved in hiring decisions at Amazon and Twitch? What do you look for? So yes, I was and I am. I have a team of almost 200 at Amazon today. I've had teams of several hundred up to 800 at Amazon before. I can talk about what Amazon looks for. I can talk about what I look for. I learned to look for passion. And I didn't used to look for that as much. I used to look for two things: intelligence or aptitude, basically, like ability, raw ability, and then relevant skills. And I learned that grit, basically determination or passion to get things done, mattered as much as those other two things, as well as emotional intelligence, like the ability to get along with people and work in teams. Very few jobs now get done totally alone. You need more than one person, and so teamwork matters. I'll tell you what we found at Amazon. We found, and this is for software development engineers, is where we have the results. But I think it applies in any job, and it's my advice to anyone starting a new job. We found that if we took the thousands of new software development engineers who started at our company each year, we could determine who would be the most successful years later by which engineers committed code during their first week and which didn't. Basically, the people who bowled through the obstacles and started delivering stuff, they were better a year later, 5 years later. And the people who sat around and were like, oh, I need some context and somebody show me how to do this, and I'm not confident to just start making changes and taking risks, or whatever it is they said in their head. I don't know, I'm imagining what they said in their head. But the people who didn't deliver value in week one also didn't deliver it at the end of year one and year 5 to the degree of those people who just got started. So if you're really wondering what we look for people who are going to get shit done. If you want to know more about it, Google Amazon Leadership Principles. There are 14 leadership principles listed. That's what Amazon looks for. Twitch, Twitch looks for very much the same things, but with more about community. Twitch is a community site. They're looking for people who understand community. They have an internal saying of "we play co-op." So they're expecting internal to the company a strong level of cooperation and trying to be a community internally. Ideally, Twitch will reflect internally what it reflects externally, which is strong communities. Now, ironically, there are parts of Twitch that are not as supportive as parts of the Twitch streamer community or the communities around streamers, but they're working on it. So I recommend both workplaces. I had fun at both. Pete asks, hey, Pete, we got to teach you how to ask these questions so I can approve them and we can vote on them. And let me go check on approvals here. Oh, we got a lot that have come in. So people who haven't looked in the widget for a minute, there'll be a bunch of new things you can vote on showing up as soon as I go approve questions that are on topic. Sweet. Lots of questions. But y'all are going to have to vote because they're all tied for one vote. Oh, these are fun. We got a lot of good questions in here, but people have to vote to discriminate which ones you want me to talk about. I have so many thoughts on these. These are great. Okay. There are a lot of good questions. They all have one vote. So as I said before, if anybody goes in and votes on the questions, your questions will get answered because no one else is voting. Okay, let's see. I always tell my new hires to never be afraid of trying. Oh, and by the way, Devin, I agree. We'll do a morning stream and then we can hang out or do something like a hike. That would be awesome. So I have some ideas how we can pull that off. We can do something up your way near your studio. So we'll do a morning thing. Sweet. So that's Labor Day planned. I always tell my new hires to never be afraid of trying. As long as they make an honest attempt, I'll cover their ass if they screw up. As long as people aren't afraid of trying, they grow a lot faster. Yes, 1,000 times yes. So look, I tell people, if you're trying to do only what you're sure you can and be safe, you'll do about this much. And if you take all these risks, you'll do a lot more. And then we have to like subtract what you screw up. But I'll still end up with you having done more, even once I subtract out your screw ups, if you just shoot for it and try. And Pete, I see you say, I wish you were my boss. Look, those bosses are out there. Like, Drino has no reason to lie here. His name's anonymous. We don't know who he is. There's plenty of people that will go, there's plenty of people that do want you to try. And then there's plenty of bosses that are scared of you. I talk on this channel all the time. If you have a bad boss and you can't change it and you can't move internally and you can't win their trust, go ahead and try all those things. Don't be hasty. But then go find someone who will support you. I've made so much progress in my career when I had supportive bosses and so little when I didn't. And I've had both. So right now, I'm lucky. I don't work for people that don't have my back. I just leave. Now that's easy for me to say because I have a long career and I have options. But you can earn your way there. And working for someone unsupportive is a type of hell. So work at night to get yourself out of that situation. Because people, I don't know if there's any such thing as a dream boss. Although my boss supports me doing Easy Coach, for example, which is fantastic. But there are people who want you to take chances. And they are worth finding. So highly recommend that. Anyway, Amazon's looking for smart, hardworking people who have grit. So we have a bunch of things now with 3 votes, which is getting better. Let's see which one do I want to take. We'll get rid of this one that we just answered. All right. Let's see what else we got. All right. Lots of questions in there. Okay. One got up to 4 votes. We'll do it next. Do job titles matter that much in tech? Title always matters because it's the first thing people read on a resume. I don't think it matters a super amount, particularly if you're talking about a technical role. What you're doing and what technology you're doing it with matters more. And none of this stuff matters once you're in an interview with a hiring manager. But on your resume, I think titles do matter. And sadly, they get used to do things like decide how much you're worth. So if I'm interviewing someone even if I'm doing it, and I should be better at looking past this, but particularly like recruiters, if they see a resume that says principal engineer, they're going to look at that differently than if they see one that says software development engineer and senior software development engineer and then principal engineer or whatever, distinguished engineer. They're going to look at those differently. Now, some companies did away with titles. In the old days, Bell Labs, for example, everyone was member of technical staff, and there was no differentiation. And so recruiters learned that member of technical staff from Bell Labs could still mean someone with a PhD and an amazing 20-year history. But normally, title does matter, I think. And so everyone knows titles at startups tend to be inflated, and so they get discounted. Titles at larger companies can require a little more understanding of where you were in that level. But look, when someone asks you what you do, you end up saying, I'm a manager, or I'm an executive, or I am an artist. We describe ourselves by our title, basically. And I do think they matter. They also matter how you think about yourself. Imagine how differently you would approach your job if your title was trusted innovator, or if your title was hard worker. I'm being silly there a little bit, but imagine how differently you would approach your job. You know, if I title you product versus I title you marketing versus I title you something else, it actually changes what you think you're supposed to do. So I think titles matter, and I don't think you should obsess about them, but I do think they matter. So if you had a follow-up to that, feel free to put it in because it's a little bit short question, so hard for me to know exactly what you meant. Thank you all for hanging out, by the way. For anybody who came here looking for me to be coaching Mugendra, our startup executive from India, his kid was sick overnight, and so he was up all night. It's 8:30 a.m. or now 9:30 a.m. in Pune, where he is. And he'd been up all night with a sick kid, and tired folks who've been up all night don't make very good guests. So we swapped out to an Ask Me Anything, which has turned out to be a lot of fun. So let's see what else we should do. Everybody wants to know, this one will make me think on my feet. What is my biggest pet peeve? There are so many ways to take that question, because I could take it in a work context. I could also take it in a personal context. I suck at sudden plan changes. So if there is a plan to do whatever, like I just made plans with Devin to do a stream on Labor Day morning. If out of the blue Sunday night that plan changes, it will throw me. It'll throw me off a little bit, and I will have to recalibrate. Like when I opened my email about 40 minutes before this stream, and I saw that Mugendra had written me and said, hey, I can't make it. I've been up all night with a sick kid. And I'm like, oh shit, what am I going to do? Now, I've had in mind for a while to do an Ask Me Anything stream, so it came to me, but then I had to adjust to it. And like, I really like plans to stay how they are. I'm an engineer in that way. I like my life ordered. I got my little box. Don't mess with it. And so as a result, I don't like surprises. Like, you may love surprise parties. My wife wanted a surprise party for her last birthday. Honestly, surprise parties are my idea of hell. The last thing I want in life is to walk in where I have some plan for the evening, and even a bunch of my best friends are somewhere and they jump out and say, surprise! And I'm going to be like, the surprise is I fucking hate you. That just isn't me. Now, some people love that stuff. And I see Shadow, like, she's right with me. Surprise parties are our definition of hell, but some people love it. And my wife wanted, I planned her birthday a year ago, not this most recent one, before. And I actually had to check with her. I'm like, so you want me to plan your birthday and you're okay if you know nothing about it, right? Because I wouldn't be. And she's like, totally. So I planned her whole birthday. She knew nothing about it. She had a blast. Her friends had a blast. I can't do it. I guess I could at like gunpoint. Here's the joke, and some people made a funny clip of me last week. I honestly say, if you want me to be spontaneous, here's what we'll do. I'll schedule it in, say, Saturday from 10 to 4. Those will be 6 hours. I'll know I'm going to be spontaneous. When we get to 10 a.m., I'll do whatever you want. You can surprise me. Yes, that's screwed up in a way, but I need to know it's like 6 hours of spontaneity and then I can go back to my regular life. So yes, I'm rigid. I admit that. But anyway, biggest pet peeve in a work sense, any kind of dishonesty. I can come back from a lot of things. People screwing things up, people being lazy. I can overlook or let people overcome being wrong, being lazy, being naive, certainly making mistakes, but covering something up or lying about it or not owning it, I can't take. I hate it. And again, I'm pretty straight up. To the degree I've ever lied at work that I can think of, it's been something I've regretted, and it's been in the form of like kind of pointing fingers. I've never, that I can think of, just looked at my boss and told him a line of shit. I have made excuses, and I still loathe that about myself. And I go back and say, I didn't own that, blah, blah, blah. But sometimes when you're put on the spot, I have screwed up and not owned it right away. But actually catching someone in a lie, they're done for me at that point. Like if they just flat up lie to me and I figure it out, or someone else outs them, it's not going to work from there, because what I learn is now I can't trust anything. And I understand, by the way, psychologically, if you corner people far enough, most of them will lie, including, I guess, me. If you back me against the wall and you're like, so, whatever, I don't know. Can you tap dance or I'm going to blow your head off? I'll be like, yes, I am incredibly skilled, and hope they don't ask me to do it. But I just don't have my tap shoes right now. Sure. But in a workplace, there's just no reason. So I can't take it. That's my pet peeve. Let's see. What do you do when you notice a coworker not taking ownership of their actions or lack of actions? So practice yellow. Normally we put that in the tool and vote on it. Devin is a good tap dancer. I've heard that. He definitely has some moves. I am not. Me dancing is, yeah. I'm enthusiastic. But practice, I think, is related to the pet peeve, so I'll answer it here because I think you were trying to ask something related, and then we'll move on. When you notice a coworker not taking ownership, so I have a simple answer to this. Yeah, it's related. I get it, Practice Yellow. Thank you. I figured that out. When you notice a coworker not taking ownership, I push them on it. I call them on it. I try to do it nicely, but I say, look, and if you're a longtime fan, you've heard I wrote part of Amazon's leadership principle on ownership. I actually wrote the part that says an owner never says that's not my job. And one of our recommended books, which Devin's also a big fan of, is Extreme Ownership. So when I see lack of ownership, I call people on it. Now you want to do that helpfully. You start with like, hey, Fred, Sarah, it seems like this is in your area. Shouldn't you be working on that, or isn't this yours? But if I need to, I will say, hey, Sarah, as far as I can tell, you should own this. Do you agree? If not, why not? Now that's pretty confrontational, and I try to work my way there. But I will ask them and then ask their boss if I have to, because life's too short to have people shirking. And if they're going to shirk, go ahead and expose it, and then their boss can deal with it. All right, cool. By the way, I love how many people have the Twitch Prime crown in chat tonight. It's good to see a bunch of Prime members. Obviously, I run Twitch Prime. Very proud of the program, so I'm glad to see a lot of Prime members. I hope you're enjoying it. Meanwhile, and that would be a place, by the way, where every other streamer would do the call to action and say, hey, if you haven't used your Prime sub, you should use it to sub. You're all welcome to sub here. I love it. The subs go to Washington Trails Association, but it's fun if you sub here simply because one day we'll start growing our subs on purpose, and we'll implement some sub-only benefits. We're not going to do that right now, but if you're not using it for anything, you definitely should. And meanwhile, we work every day to make Twitch Prime better, and we've got some good new stuff coming up heading into the fall. So maybe once it ships, I'll be able to talk about it here. Meanwhile, we've gone an hour. I have a bunch more questions in. I appreciate them, so I'm going to keep going. But I will say tomorrow's the big show. Ha! Chalupa Whale, there you go. Thank you so much. And I'm glad to see, wow, our algorithm is working because all the gifts got given to our most loyal viewers. So Ethernight is here a lot. T-Weirdo3 is here a lot. Players, Mr. Fluffy I don't recognize as much, but if you're here, you can sound off. Eric Lay 88, same thing. It's good to see you all getting subbed. Love it. But anyway, thank you for that gift. Chalupa Whale is definitely a big gifter in the channel, and I love it. And so that's awesome. PDAS, was the algorithm changed? I don't believe so, but I don't talk about things internal to Twitch. I do know when it came up as a Reddit thread, they investigated. I saw the investigation go by, but I just don't comment on that kind of stuff here. But this is a good confirmation that in my channel, it was working as described, which is the algorithm tries to bias giving gifts to the most loyal and active viewers. And I think from what I see that happen. So, cool. All right, nice. So what else are we going to talk about? Oh, I know. I was going to mention, for those who haven't seen it, that tomorrow night at 6 p.m. Pacific, we'll have Lou Castle of EA, Electronic Arts, and Westwood Studios, now working for Amazon Game Studios, on as a guest. And that should be cool because we'll talk about the mini games Lou has built. I normally don't do game streams, so this is the chance for all of you who are loyal members. 20 bucks that this ends up on Reddit right now. What's going to end up on Reddit? That I talked at all about the algorithm? God, I hope not. Because I stay away from that. I just know it worked in my case. That's my whole testimony. Ethan, the streamer, thinks it worked as it should have. So, good deal. Meanwhile, when Lou comes on, he will be able to talk. This is your chance to invite your friends who are game oriented to see what Easy Coach is all about, because we'll be blending talking about careers in game development with just straight up talking about games people love. We'll do that tomorrow at 6. All right, cool. Next question. I've answered this one in other forms before, but since you guys want to talk about it tonight, we'll do it now. Is it a good use of my time to advance my skills by getting certifications in Google, AdWords, etc., or should I only focus on networking and applying for jobs to find a good new job? Personally, I would say building a network is great, but you can't do that 24 hours a day. There are some certifications that recruiters in particular look for. And so if they're relatively affordable, checking the box and getting some certifications in an area that you're truly interested in can show that you're investing in yourself and getting education. And it can show that you are applying your skills. So would they be the first thing I would do? Looking for junior positions out of college? maybe not. But if you're not finding work, I would absolutely do them while you look. So if you're looking and you're following everything, can we fanboy about Command and Conquer? Yes, you can. Absolutely. Tomorrow you can totally do that. Um, so if you're already doing everything that's in What Color Is My Parachute, um, yeah, I think certifications are good. They are not awesome. I don't know of any great job that was ever gotten from a non-college certification, but I'm sure it's happened. And so I would say they're in like the B category. They're not a waste of your time, but they're not gonna like change your life either. Is my experience. Um, so probably the people who do AWS certifications would be sad to hear me say that, but you know, is what it is. So, all right. So we got a bunch of questions in here again. They need some votes to discriminate them. We have a huge population of viewers, so we got 40 people on, and most of the questions have one vote. So go into the Q&A tool, our extension, either on mobile or web, and give me some idea what you want to talk about. Because, as I keep pointing out, the first person to vote gets to pick the next question. Oh, we have these long questions. All right, we'll do a long one, then some short ones. Um, what is the best way to connect with new people from a company I want to work for via LinkedIn and create referrals for the application? Also, how can I best add value to this transaction? Um, so, the best, I'm going to answer the second part first. For how to add value to the transaction, be forthright. Don't pretend that you're chatting people up. Paintbrush Hero, I don't think that's showing up because you're not a mod, but I can bring up the question stuff. There you go. So that's how to ask questions. There's the instructions. What is the best way to connect with new people? The best way to add value to the transaction is be honest and say, look, Fred, Sarah, I am I'd like to join your company and I'd like to get your help with that. Here's what I have to offer. But I wouldn't hide it. And I would also be organized. Don't say, hey, I need, I've had people contact me on LinkedIn and they're like, so this is what I do. Can you tell me what job to apply for? And there's like 5,000 job posts at Amazon. Like, do the work and say, look, do the work to know what job you want. Put in your homework. Don't throw the burden onto the person on LinkedIn. The way to add value on the transaction is to know about the company and make a simple ask that's easy for them to do as you're asking. Don't make a complicated, heavy lift. Because people are usually willing to do you a simple favor. And if you're a stranger and you're asking for a lot, like the odds they're going to do it are a lot lower. Now, going back to what's the best way to connect with new people from a company? A lot of people on LinkedIn will accept any connection. The people who won't, you just reach out and say why you'd like to connect. And you be honest again. You be transparent and say, hey, I've got a lot of interest in Amazon. I'm an artist like you, or I went to the school that you went to, or I see we're both from Ohio, or whatever the hell your connection is. And then share it. Go ahead and see if they connect. Hopefully they will. And most companies have enough people that you can get a connection pretty quickly by reaching out. The other thing you can do is if you have a mutual connection, you can ask to be introduced. So I think LinkedIn had this functionality more in the past, but LinkedIn, you can figure out who's connected to the person. Like you have these mutual connections, you ask them to introduce you. And that works pretty well. All right. So those are the things I would do. How can you best add value? Keep it simple and make it easy. Now, for networking in general, you're looking for people you know and you're keeping in touch with them and you're saying intelligent things around them or helping them out with real work. And they will then be interested in being connected to you. Like it's a lot easier to ask your friends or acquaintances for favors than to ask strangers. So that's the most powerful way to network. Second, be known for something. So, for example, because I do the Easy Coach, I have a much bigger network. And probably, for example, all of you here in chat and many other people would be willing to help me because you feel I've helped you. And so there's a lot of things you can do, though. You can be a contributor in an open source community if you're an SDE, and then all the people in that community are more likely to help you. You can work at a charity. I often pointed out there was a guy at Amazon whose contribution, part of his contribution was he went to the local ski resorts and he got them to make Amazon like a corporate discount and he distributed those ski tickets. Well, as a result, I think he was super well loved at Amazon. And probably if he asked any of the people, they'd at least have been like, oh yeah, you're the guy who gets me the discount ski tickets. I love you. And they'd be a lot more likely to help him. So if you're like this Machiavellian person who does nothing but take from your peers, getting help from them is going to be hard. If you've added some honest value to people, it's going to be easier. Let's see. All right, couple more questions here, and then my voice is starting to go, and it's getting late, so I'll let everybody go. By the way, if you haven't, I mention this all the time. Let me talk about future shows. I talked about the Command and Conquer show with Luke Hassel tomorrow. I talked about Labor Day morning with Devin Nash. My next scheduled show is Wednesday the 4th. And I'm not sure now if we'll stick Mugendra in that slot or if we'll do the scheduled show of career growth without managing people. It will be one of the two, though. So we'll be live again doing a show in this format September 4th. All right. Here's a question I can't really answer, so we'll show it and give acknowledgement to it. If you were to play WoW Classic, what class and race would you play and why? Answer, I don't know. I never played WoW, so it's kind of hard for me to answer what I would play. I'm a D&D guy from way back, so generally, what did I play? I played all over the place. I don't do thieves or assassins. As I mentioned, I don't like lying, so I always play up and up people. But like paladin types are boring. And so I generally, one of my good friends once said he always plays a magic user because they can fly. And really, what's the point of doing something in the fantasy world if you can't fly? So I basically like scout type characters. Amazon's working on a new game. It's well known. It's called New World. It's kind of an open world game. I like to just look around and explore. And so I like open world sandboxes. So I would pick something with high movement, pretty good survivability, where I could run around and check out the world. Because I don't have the time to complete every possible quest, but I like to be able to check things out. So I think, for example, when I played some Grand Theft Auto in the past, I just ran around and tried to look at everything because I'm curious and I want to see what the game makers have made. And I need a character that can use stealth or speed to do that. So, I'm a druid. I'm more of a ranger than a druid. Most of my characters, if you look at them, they would be more rangers than druids. But yeah, chaotic neutral with good tendencies, right? That was my old line. My personal, but I'm more lawful, actually. I don't know, I'm a crazy blend. Druid, true neutral, I could see that. Alignment, we could have a whole discussion on AD&D alignments. That'd be fun. Let's do that. So chat, for anybody who knows D&D, it had 9 alignments. What alignment would you be? I used to say I was chaotic neutral with good tendencies, which was a cop-out. I've probably realigned now to like a neutral good or something. Because I do like to break or fracture or bend some laws, which is the chaotic side, and yet I like my life amazingly organized, which would be the lawful side. So you thought I was a tank. Yeah, I'm not a tank. I'm a grinder in hockey. Like, it's more about effort than about being tough. So I don't know what the like high effort class is. Luthon 1234 is slipping backwards. If you think of that as backwards, I used to think I was lawful good, but I think of more neutral or neutral good, fair, chaotic good. We got a lot of people who are good here. That's good. We're not seeing too many true neutrals or evils, which is helpful. We won't ban you for being evil, but we hope you're lying. Okay. You can keep throwing those up in chat if you want. Let's see what other questions we have now that I've answered the game question. This is such a Twitch conversation. That is true. What alignment are you? Is totally a Twitch conversation. That is completely true. All right, this has been a good stream. This is fun, everybody hanging out, even though it's late at night on the East Coast. Okay, I didn't pin this one yet. Sorry. What's the most important thing to look for in an interview, but the hardest to interview for? Ugh. For me right now, this is, and I'm covering my face because it pains me, it's assessing product management talent. So that's like double facepalm for me. It's really hard to figure out who has good product insight and can qualify, quantify, and explain their product insight. Some of you know I worked for a long time with Bobby Scarnaman from Twitch Scar. He drops into the channel now and then. Bobby has incredible product insight, which he struggles to explain to people who aren't just inside his brain. And so there's the people who are savants and can't explain it well, and he's worked on that and gotten a lot better at it. And then there's the people that, like, they have all the math and they can build a business case, but they really have no insight. It's just so difficult to find a good product manager. Now, within more general interview skills, if we're not just talking about product management, assessing someone's ability to learn and their grit, like their ability to fight through things. Look, skills I can check on a whiteboard, whether it's finance or coding or legal or art or whatever, those we can test. Attitude though, and energy, like, is this person, you can also check some social skills, but is this person, do they really want to work, or do they want a paycheck and like to be a bump on a log? Most people, and it's sad, look, most of you who are here listening to me are probably different because you're spending your time listening to something about how to improve your career. But most people don't want to work. I was going to say that hard, but they at some level don't want to work at all. Like I have some friends I play hockey with, and they terrify the shit out of me because they work at Boeing, and they talk about how to F off as much as possible. And meanwhile, I'm going to be climbing on one of their planes the next day. Or they talk about how all the people at Boeing, and all is a generalization, but they talk about a lot of people at Boeing who are trying not to work, who are just trying to like do their minimum time and get to their break and minimum time and get to their lunch. And the thought that I'm flying on a plane made by lazy people who don't want to weld it together or wire it right scares the hell out of me. And do I really think it's different at, Bombardier or Airbus? No, it's probably worse. But I'm trying to figure out if people actually want to work. And I believe people have kind of good intentions, but are they willing to go the extra mile? And are they willing to fight through difficulty? That's what makes all the difference in what people achieve is, yes, it's a trope, it's a cliche. When the going gets tough, the tough get going. It is so true at work. A few people carry most of what gets done, and it's not really because they're smarter, although maybe they're very smart. It's basically because when they have a choice between reading more Reddit or trying to deliver some value, even though their boss kind of pissed them off or they don't really have all the tools. They're like, you know what? I'm going to get this done. So this is related. We're a small team supporting a law firm. We need to hire someone. Yeah, so I don't know if I can answer that whole question here in chat, IO Fault. But the real answer to hiring people is the same as as getting hired. They're both networking challenges. Also, write your job description so it's interesting. Don't write let me explain this really simply. Write a job description that's for the person you want to hire, that tells them what they're going to get to do that's cool and valuable and that will advance their career. Don't write, we are hiring somebody to do this, this, and this for us. I don't care what you want. Tell me what I get to do. And then you'll have people who want to apply. And yes, networking. Okay, we're going to go to 9:30 my time, so a couple more minutes, and we'll call it good. Oh, reminds me, Hydrate pointed out, I put a plaque on the shelf this time. I always put an object back there. We'll grab two things.